Through these statements here. Number 6, Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. Zena?
A psychic vampire is someone who drains you of your vital energy.
But I want you to hear something. I'm going to read it, right? I'm going to read it. And I want you to listen to it closely. All right? Just listen. It says, this is overcoming self. Overcoming self. It says, many of you do not know your religious, whatever it may be, your church does not ever expect for you to go outside of it to find the truth for yourself. Most of us would agree the Holy Bible is the best translation available to us today in the King James Version, right? It says self-autonomy helps a person to exercise independent thinking, the pursuit of happiness, and the freedom to determine self-predestination. Hallelujah.
A psychic vampire is someone who drains you of your vital energy, someone who is constantly looking to you for their support and for their energy.
Most believers I meet today are simply not satisfied with their present spiritual condition. So many questions and so many unanswered questions. The Most High's people are suffering today. Your religious leaders are responsible for holding you back. Your religious leaders are responsible.
Responsibility to the responsible means if you demonstrate that you have a certain amount of responsibility, you will gain that much more responsibility. Your actions are rewarded by what you achieve or what you acquire, rather than being siphoned off to someone who hasn't deserved them.
Your religious leaders are responsible for holding you back. Your religious leaders are responsible for holding you back, mostly through the spirit of unbelief. Today's pastors and ministers depend upon a system that educates them to be subordinate. I'll read that part again. Today's pastors and ministers depend upon a system that educates them to be subordinate, instead of many of you getting the truth. You're getting the teachings of the doctrines of the commandments of men and vain religious traditions, all of which deny the true transforming power of Jesus Christ.
You know, Zena, before there was any Nobel Prize for Mother Teresa, and really before most anyone knew who she was, I visited her home for the destitute and dying in Calcutta, and I saw the poor people laying there in the throes of death. I saw her comforting them, touching them, giving them what food and water they needed. Those, by your definition, were psychic vampires because they could give nothing back.
And you don't think Mother Teresa had some ulterior motive
No.
that she wanted these people
I
to...
really don't.
I was asked why someone of my natural tenderness and pudeur and fair-mindedness would... And by the way, one mustn't confuse fair-mindedness with objectivity. You know how people often do that in this culture. People say they think even-handedness is objectivity, or fairness is objectivity, or putting both sides. There's not. Objectivity is the search for truth, even if it leads you to unwelcome conclusions. It's nothing at all to do with impartiality. But none of these things apply in the case of Mother Teresa, because it's a simple matter of record that she was a fanatic and a fundamentalist and a fraud. I think probably the most successful confidence trickster of the last century, and responsible for innumerable deaths and for untold suffering and misery, and proud of it. Should I just assert this, or would you require any proof?
I just learned
We
about,
know how fair-minded some people can be.
I just learned about John Roger and Charles Keating, for example.
Well,
Thank you, John.
there's one way, there are two ways of doing it. One is you say, well, if she was so wonderful, how come she went to Haiti at the invitation of the Duvalier family, took money from them which didn't belong to them, had been stolen from the Haitian poor, said how wonderful the situation was for the poor in Haiti, how the poor loved the Duvaliers and the Duvaliers loved them back. How does she get to Haiti in the first place? She's supposed to be in Calcutta. You've got to get all the way to Haiti to praise a regime that is notorious for its wringing of the poor. Oh, she did it because out of solidarity with people who thought like her, and because she needed their money, which they'd stolen, as she stole hers from Charles Keating of the Lincoln Savings and Loan, who gave her $1.5 million and a private jet in return. Pretty good deal, actually, for an olive crucifix and a blessing when he was on trial. He needed a character witness. The court then wrote to her and said, "You've got $1.5 million we're looking for that belong to the poor of California. Do you feel like giving it back?" She never replied. She'd written to the court in the first place. That's just the fraudulence. That's just touching on the fraudulence. But by the way, if any of what I've just said is true, and it all is, how come you need me to tell you? How come that my profession hasn't enlightened you about this already? How come this woman stands underneath a Niagara of undiluted free publicity for all these years? Ask yourselves. But that's just the fraud.
Now there's some scriptures to back that up. Mark 7:7 says, "Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." Verse 8, "For laying aside the commandment of Yah, you hold the traditions of men as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things you do." Now we're in verse 9 in Mark 7. "And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God, that you may keep your own traditions."
And you don't think Mother Teresa had some ulterior motive
No.
that she wanted these people
I
to...
really don't.
You don't think she wanted them to see her point of view?
No. As a matter of fact,
No,
these
I don't
people
think
could
she
not.
did,
And I
actually.
don't-
What we do is we project the way someone is going to respond, and we forego truth. Truth has to be sacrificed based on an emotional feeling or whatever possible backlash it could be. This is how Americans function there almost every day. This is a standard operating procedure. Because you know how your friend is. You hear that? I know how he. There's some people out there thought they knew how I was. They didn't know too good, though, didn't they?
Most missions or missionaries want to convert people. They want people to see
save
their...
souls. Isn't that what Christianity is
That's a
designed
presumption
to do?
I think that you people have made, but
Well,
you're
I think it
you're
goes
talking,
deeper
I
than
think
that.
you've
I
made
think-
that presumption, but I think I've visited more
I think-
mission
I
compounds.
think
Let me finish.
okay.
I think I've visited more mission compounds around this world than you have.
See, y'all that live around me, y'all know me. Ask these brothers right here. You can ask them. Ask all of them and stuff. I definitely am in a different realm and stuff in my working, because I got to do a lot of different stuff in order to keep this well-oiled machine running, if you understand what I mean. But you ask them, if I run around here with my nose stuck up in there like I'm all that in a bag of chips, do I walk like that around here?
So he's justifying this by reading you Mark chapter 7, verse 9. This is how people operate today. Listen closely. "What good is it to live life and not have the victory over sickness and disease? Why is our quality of life declining? Why are we, quote unquote, the church, suffering from the same physical diseases and problems the world suffers from? Why do many of you really truly do not have peace?" Listen to me closely. Listen. Most pastors are building their kingdoms on this earth off the backs of your labors. Wake up.
And I remember being in a Bangladesh refugee camp some years ago during that time of bloody war. And I saw a Salvation Army officer standing by the bedside of a woman who had walked 100 miles just to get there to escape the fighting, and she was dying. He could not speak her language. She had moments to live, and I said to him, "You cannot convert her. You know that, don't you?" He said, "Yes, I know that." I said, why are you doing it? He said, because I feel it is necessary to offer her a few moments of tenderness and comfort in the last minutes of her life. He had nothing to gain by it.
Well,
now she was
she
was a psychic vampire by your definition.
Underneath the whole Christian theology and the whole organized structure of Christian dogma is what I feel is a masochistic, almost love and wallowing in despair and death. Christians love nothing more than to see suffering so they can go and whine and moan over it and help people and feel how good they are that they're helping people.
I'll read that last part again. Most pastors are building their kingdoms on this earth off of your backs and off of your labors. Wake up. The only way is for you to make a complete surrender to Yah, rather than focusing on those who are blind to the truth or just don't care about promoting the whole truth. The real true believer who knows there is more to God, more to Yah, than this church thing every single week.
It's a very morbid religion.
Believe that?
You worship a God who's nailed and bleeding to a cross. Everything in the Bible drips with morbidity and
his
death.
flesh and drink his blood.
And yet you
There's a lot
accuse us of being
morbidity.
morbid. If you want to be around dying and sick people all the time, then you have every right to, but we are not obliged to help these people.
And shouldn't that be a choice? Shouldn't that be I thought this was a free country, shouldn't that be a personal choice from one individual to the next?
That's some serious stuff, man. You think about that. So what did the prophet say? Who's on Yahweh's side? You better ask yourself, who's on Yahweh's side? I hope you are. I hope you are. Yes. We got to remember that Yah's ways are not our ways. Did y'all hear what I said? Yes, sir. We have a way. But the book says there is a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof is the way of death. See, but it seems right. Yes. That's why y'all think we do what we do nowadays? Because it seems right. That's good. We wouldn't do it if it didn't seem right. That's true. The problem is, rather than walking in Yah's way, we're walking in our way. Again, pride. Oh, pride.
Ministers realize that all truth is not sweet to ear. The scriptures speak of a bitter truth as well as a sweet truth. It's the bitter truth that cuts like a two-edged sword. Stop selling your soul so cheap. It is a known fact. It is easier to swallow a lie and believe it rather than the truth. Anytime you are struggling with believing something, you should exercise the art of questioning, why is it so hard to receive this?
Certainly there are going to be people who derive pleasure from doing that. And who are you to say that there are going to be people who don't want to do that? Who are you to say that that's wrong?
Maybe it is a greater evil, when all is said and done, to keep millions of people alive who are not ever going to be productive, who are going to drain all of our resources and create a stagnant world.
But to comfort them in the hours of their death, to offer an act of human kindness.
Well,
that's why there's people like you. You don't want us there.
You want us to be like that as well?
You go hug them. I don't want to.
I'm going to say that part again. Anytime you are struggling with believing something, you should exercise the art of questioning, why is it so hard to receive this? I preach and talk about everything. I preach and I talk about everything. I preach and I talk about everything. It's about honoring the truth and not bury that truth if it relates to something you have not been taught.
See, these are the principles of Yah. Proverbs 30, verse 8 and 9. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food contentment for me. Lest I lest I be full and deny thee and say, who is Yahweh? There we go.
So honor the truth, it's saying, and don't bury it because it's relating to something that you just haven't been taught on. The Holy Spirit would never conceal the truth based upon internal fears or doubts. After we obtain salvation and strength through our Master Yahshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, we should fiercely commit to battle evil. We should fiercely, let me read again. After we obtain salvation and strength through our Master Yahshua HaMashiach, our Lord Jesus the Christ, once we get the salvation and the strength, we should fiercely commence to battling evil. As a people of the eternal supreme most high, we must exhibit tenacity and courage, always realizing you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. Most people are living in prisons within themselves. Most people are living in prisons within themselves, going through life never able to obtain the answer they are looking for.
If I were that dying person and you were standing over my body, yes, I would want you to be like that. If you were dying...
Just by being a human being, you don't deserve my love and respect.
Pain?
Of course. And to those I love that suffer pain, I will comfort those who I like, those who I favor. I'm not everybody's friend.
There is an old saying, you could be looking for your answers in the wrong places. Man's strongest strength exists in the word of Yah. Are you truly free? Are you truly free?
I'm sure you, Zena, heard the story from the Bible of the Good Samaritan. Are you familiar with that story?
Right.
Do you know what it's about?
To argue this point is just going round and round.
No, it is an important arguable point.
Your main concern in Christianity is to help the weak. Christianity was designed as a religion for slaves, after all. Historically, if there is any truth to it, the first followers of Christianity were slaves in Judea. Now, is that not true?
No, that is not true.
Who were the first followers of Christianity?
In fact, the first followers of Jesus Christ were not only common working people, but some of the most eminent intellectuals of the day, such as Saul of Tarsus, who was...
Well, Saul of Tarsus is the person who recreated the Christian religion in his own vision and rewrote the scriptures in the first place.
Well,
he caught on to a good thing.
I'm sorry, but that's hardly historically accurate.
That's really interesting, because one Christian will tell us one thing, and another will tell us
Christianity is fine.
Well, what did they tell you?
Christianity is fine for people who have this great love for weaklings. Well, we don't have it, so why must we be forced to be a part of your love for all mankind?
Well, you certainly must not be forced. Nobody would force you to do anything. I guess...
Can't you understand that?
I find it difficult to accept.
You really want us to put up a fight or put up an argument, but there's no...
Go help them.
I just wonder how you've been able to psychologically insulate yourself in such a way. I cannot. I mean, I've not always been a Christian. Mm-hmm. And long before I was a Christian, it was just a matter of human responsibility to another creature, though I may not have believed them to be a creature of God as I do now. Mm-hmm. If they were suffering and they were in pain and they were hurting, I reached out to them.
How much clearer do I have to make it? A strong animal does not spend all of their energy and time on earth helping every weak animal. You help those in your own pack, in your own tribe, those who are like you, and those who are not like you and who are not contributing to you, you do not have a responsibility to.
Wake up! Deliverance is for you if you can come out of the prison of vain religion and come out from under ignorant ministers, pastors, and teachers.
If you want it on
Nicholas,
simpler terms, you can say that we are of different species.
Let's get to an issue that Zena raised a little earlier, and it's one that I know is a very sensitive one to you. And that is the issue of the allegations of human sacrifice. Now,
It's not that sensitive.
I will first of all go on record as being very clear in stating that my understanding the Church of Satan official ideology, the party line, is that we do not condone, we do not permit, we do not practice or encourage human sacrifice.
Correct.
Okay. What of those people who do read the Satanic Bible, who do hear your father's teachings, and then practice animal and or human sacrifice in his name?
Satanists. Just because you read a book doesn't make you that thing.
How many people have read the Holy Bible, misinterpreted it, and acted on it?
I would like to reiterate that the disciples of Yah will never intentionally duck Scripture because they just do not have an understanding. Now, that was a good read. And it's called Overcoming Self. And it was written by Pastor Charles Dow on August 1st, 2010.
No, think about it. Let's be real, man. Most people are hypocritical, friends, because what we do is we project the way someone is going to respond, and we forego truth. Truth has to be sacrificed based on an emotional feeling or whatever possible backlash it could be. This is how Americans function almost every day. This is standard operating procedure. Because you know how your friend is. I know how. There's some people out there thought they knew how I was. They didn't know too good, though, didn't they?
Did you hear all those truths about being an independent thinker? That most churches know and understand that you're not going to go outside of them to try to find any level of truth. But he was admonishing you in this to be one of those free independent thinkers. And he admitted that pastors that are trying to build kingdoms here for themselves are the ones that are blinded and ignorantly holding you back from the truth.
Do you know what John Wayne Gacy said to all of his victims?
He read the
before they died?
23rd Psalm. Should we now say that John Wayne Gacy is a Christian murderer? It's a foolish, sweeping generalization.
Okay.
Anyone can read a book. Mark David Chapman, who killed John Lennon, read Catcher in the Rye. Should we
And
ban
Leopold
Catcher
and
in the
Loeb
Rye? Leopold
read
and Loeb
Nietzsche.
wrote Nietzsche. Let's ban Nietzsche. Where do you
Well,
stop?
I think there is a serious issue in terms of artistic freedom of expression that you've raised. I also think one has to determine whether or not inherent in the language expressed, the deeds that result from it are philosophically consistent with
There
it.
are far more violent things written than the Satanic Bible. So you can't tell me that that was written in such a way to promote violence.
Well, I'm not saying that it was. I'm just saying that it lends itself by the nature of the language used. Well, let's read it. Let's read it. Okay?
Let me quote something. Jesus said, I come not with peace, but with a sword. Now, if I'm a Christian and I say, well, I have a sword, I'm going to go kill non-Christians. It's a matter of interpretation. I would say...
No, that is absolutely philosophically inconsistent with the larger worldview of the teachings of Christ. And anyone would know
just as
that.
it is with Satanism.
Well, okay.
Why blame the acts of a few nincompoops on a book?
We'll read from this book if you'd like, but let's read this book, all right?
Because this one's more interesting.
Mad dogs are destroyed. Okay? The fact remains, given the opportunity, they would destroy you. Therefore, you have every right to symbolically destroy them. And if your curse provokes their actual annihilation,
Rejoice.
rejoice that you have been instrumental in ridding the world of a pest he is made to be trampled underfoot.
You love quoting that. I've heard you say that before.
Have you?
Yeah, you really say it with gusto.
You could be a really good Satanist.
You
given
never
an
know who's
opportunity.
listening to you when you're on the radio. Well, but Zena,
It was just that little snippet that someone played for me.
you have every right to symbolically destroy them. I'm
Don't
a
you
writer.
have- Now wait,
I'm a
don't you-
writer and a
but let me
journalist. I
say something.
know the responsibilities
Bob,
of
let me say
language.
something.
If your curse provokes their actual annihilation, in other words, you're only doing this symbolically. But if in doing this curse, putting the pins in the voodoo doll or whatever, if in fact they actually do die, rejoice.
Of course. Why is that inconsistent
I'm
with our
asking you,
philosophy?
Zena. Your father wrote this book.
Right. So
If
what
the
you're
person
saying...
actually dies as the result of the curse you put on them, rejoice. I believe
Well, what
me,
do you
I'm
think
trying
would
to be,
promote
I'm
a
trying
curse
to be,
like that?
give you the opportunity. If there's an out here and you don't mean that, fine, say so.
Of course we mean that. What do you want me to
Rejoice.
say? Oh, no, he didn't mean to write that. Of course. What do you think we would use a destruction ritual for?
It's to
If your
destroy,
wife was
obviously.
raped and murdered, and you don't know who did it, and you want to throw a random curse at whoever it was that did it, and if it works, shouldn't you be happy?
Or should you mourn the rapist, which I guess Christians mourn the people who kill them too? Because
What is
Christian,
it? I don't know. What
what is
do you
what
think?
response do you
they're-
want from us?
Don't you
it
think
isn't a
that
question
a
of
destruction
response
ritual...
that I want for you. I'm
See,
just trying to.
I think you seem to have this idea that we toss around these destruction rituals right and left. We do them every Friday night with
At
no
random,
regard.
we just go through the phone book and,
Yeah,
and
we
pick
just
some.
pick people out with no regard for who they are. Don't you think there's a reason why we have that?
Sure, you feel
Okay.
that you've been wronged and have a right to get revenge.
And explain to me why that is wrong. Explain to me if it's
Well,
something that's so blatantly obvious.
The explanation is that when we allow every individual to become the arbiter of his own actions, the rule of thumb of his own conduct, and the determinate factor as to whether or not he is the wronger or the wrongee, then we have millions of individuals running around choosing their own courses of action.
You'll never have that.
And
People
you
are
have-
too lazy to
in
decide
a society, we have a lot of very hurt, angry, dysfunctional, psychotic people who then in turn use this as an excuse for reprehensible action.
that. Granted.
And
If you want to read this article, I'm not going to read it twice. There it is. It's called Overcoming Self. See, I knew Dow would teach these types of things. The problem is now I have receipts, y'all. The problem is I have receipts showing that he never lived this way, though. I have receipts showing it, that he never lived like this. Y'all built this up. It's all y'all's doing. No man gets any credit for what's going on in this world today if it's good. It all comes from above. He literally said in this article, pastors are building kingdoms here. They're building kingdoms here off of your backs, off of your labors. It's exactly what's going on right before you. Just can't see it.
Brothers on the slide, working on the wrong side. What you gonna do? You can't win, so you know you must lose. We know which way you're going. We know which way you're going. Brothers on the slide, what you gonna hide? Reckon your folks' name. It's a shame, but ain't no game. We know which way you're going. you going? We know which way you going. We know which way you going. We know. Sila. Better believe it. Tell you. Achoo.